YouTube, on se retrouve du coup pour le map tour de la mer de Jade. On a vu quelques images sur Twitter, mais là on va voir le truc en entier. Il nous commence sûrement par la petite truc qu'ils nous ont mis sur Twitter. Et après on aura plus d'infos. Let's go, let's go, let's go, je suis full hype. Je suis full hype. Donc ça on a déjà vu sur Twitter, hein. Je sais pas si vous suivez sur Twitter le compte officiel. De live la tortue de siège en une vidéo. Non, elle est sortie depuis 4 jours la vidéo Gigo. Ça fait déjà 2-3 jours qu'elle est sortie la vidéo sur la tortue de siège. Aïe 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 aïe. Let's go, let's go.
Hi Terria, happy Friday and welcome
c'est pas,
to Guild
je monte
Chat.
un peu.
Thank you all for joining us. I'm your host Ruby, and we're going to be giving you a tour of the Jade Sea today. We're really happy with how you were commenting and reacting on the video we showed earlier this week. So we're going to dive in a little bit deeper and take you around the map and show some things off to you. A couple things before we dive in. First of all, as always, we're taking you behind the scenes into a development environment. So you're going to see things that look unfinished, maybe look kind of weird, look like they might be a little broken, maybe some temporary icons, that kind of thing. Also, especially for this show, we've been saying in the Xingje map tour and in the Echovald Wilds map tour, we let you know that we had hidden a lot of things just to kind of avoid spoilers and leave plenty for you all to discover during your gameplay after End of Dragons goes live. We've done that this time, except we hid everything.
Du coup, comme à chaque fois, là, elle est en train de nous dire qu'on est dans un environnement de développeurs et qu'il y a des trucs qui vont paraître bizarres ou pas finis ou quoi, mais c'est parce qu'en fait, ils nous cachent volontairement des trucs pour pas nous spoil notre expérience de jeu, en fait.
The enemies, the residents, the NPCs, they're all gone. Still lots to show you, but just a heads up, it's a little bit deserted right now. So that said, yeah, mass evacuation. We evacuated everybody. So that said, let's jump in and meet our dev guests. Connor, we'll start with you. Hi.
All right. Hello. My name is Connor Fallon. I'm the story design lead on End of Dragons. That means I work very closely with the narrative team and with the other designers in order to determine what our storyline is and make sure that everything that we're doing is cohesive, which is especially relevant to this map.
Yeah,
yes,
and Kirk.
It is. Hey folks, I'm Kirk Williford. I'm a senior game designer at ArenaNet, and I am a content team lead on End of Dragons, including Jade Sea here.
Yeah. All right, so where are we going to start?
Sure. We are starting at the Frozen Sea Monastery, located in the Jade Sea. So first thing you'll note is, again, I want to make it sure we call it out. Everything has been unspawned in this map. You know, some props have even been unspawned. All of the NPCs have. A big thing about this map, and I'll let Connor go into detail about this, is this map ties very closely with the story of End of Dragons, particularly later in the story. So.
Yeah. So historically, when we've done expansions, all of the maps have taken place ballpark the same time. When we were breaking out and figuring out what we were doing in End of Dragons, it became clear that there were a lot of advantages to having one map that took place later, so that we could show some of the effects of some of the things that were happening in the story and really like tie it in a cohesive way. The Jade Sea is the map. So actually in the game, if you try to go to this map early, there will be a little conversation that says, "Are you sure you want to go here?" There'd be spoilers. And you can say yes. We're not stopping you from going in early and spoiling yourself, but it's this interesting thing where we've kind of taken an advantage that we had in Living World with having maps be a very specific slice of time and applied just a little bit of it to this expansion. So yeah, but the result of this is when we're putting together how to promote it, how to talk about it, it's hard.
C'est trop stylé ça. Qui nous empêche d'aller à certains endroits pour pas nous spoil nous-mêmes en fait.
Stuff that we just can't show or don't like. We could show, I guess, but like then you'd go in and you'd know everything. You'd know a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Like, so yeah, and so we've all been working really closely together on this map because of that way that it connects to the larger story and all those other things.
Yeah, it's been a blast, being able to work with the narrative team so closely, and Connor and his team on this map and developing the themes that you see in the content and the experience on this map, and how it all ties together, not just with what's happening in this map, but what's happening in the entire story at this point. And yeah, even when we were trying to figure out how to do this guild chat, it's the first thing is like, okay, how are we going to do this?
We had so many meetings about this.
Because we want to show this map. There's a ton of awesome things to see in the Jade Sea, but there's also there might be a sea that we can see. See what I did there?
Yeah, I do.
But at the same time, we don't want to spoil that for folks. We don't want to spoil a lot of things for people. So we are, that's why we do unhide everything, or we do hide everything.
Ok, donc ils ont caché plein de trucs.
We'll be right back.
Ils ont caché plein de trucs pour pas nous spoiler.
But yeah.
So let's see what we can see.
Sure,
in
yeah.
this sea.
So this is another area in the map that is a bit
C'est trop beau déjà cet endroit.
It's in the rocks a little bit. By a little bit, I mean
dans
quite
la
a bit. But it showcases some of the more solemn areas of the map.
It's embedded in the rocks.
It is quite embedded in the rocks, but it still has its own grand view. It's a gorgeous area. Some awesome content takes place here, with learning more about this particular monastery and what the folks here do. But there's a lot of contrast in what you can find in this map, because obviously Jade in its place in Cantha. It's very important. It powers the entire Canthan Empire. So there's that level and that element of the map where it is a big quarry and that has to get the
les grosses carrières, ouais.
materials to do.
Ça, on l'a vu dans la.
So hard not to spoil things right now.
On l'a vu dans la vidéo.
You're doing really well.
I'm trying.
Shout out to Kirk for this.
But at the same time, there's also these areas where it's like it's a little quieter. It might be a break from that big industry side.
It's still a big historic region that has a lot of culture and history attached to it. And people go there not only for modern reasons, they go there to connect to that.
Yeah, this area is different than what it was in Guild Wars 1 in the sense that, this isn't the land of the Luxons as much. People who are still here are Luxons of descent. Do you still recognize some of them? They still,
C'est toujours la terre des Luxons, mais c'est plus les Luxons, c'est leurs descendants, quoi.
Similar to what you'll find in Echovold with the Kurziks, but it's kind of, it has another element to it. And so, we'll start taking a look at it. I'm going to head a little bit to the east here. I'm going to carefully position my camera. So this is the thing. The spoilers are so up front in this map that I literally cannot move my camera at certain angles for fear of showing things. But so we're gonna take a little detour through this conveniently placed hallway here and just kind of take in some of the more solemn aspects of the map and some of the cool things to be able to discover. Including some of the awesome artwork that has gone into this map.
Yeah.
So very early on, I mean, you all have probably seen some of these textures before, but the whole thing is very early on, the art team developed a couple different iconic patterns, basically that were that would embody Canthan art, and I think they really help in all of our maps lend this sense of a style.
C'est trop beau.
Yeah,
on est d'accord que c'est trop beau.
Yeah, that's something I've been noticing through the whole map is the attention to detail, even in those little mosaic patterns. And if you can go back down, and just even the stone surrounding it has absolutely gorgeous patterns. The map artists have done such good work on this.
Yeah, every time we go into this map, it blows us away. The work that Jeff, our map artist, has done on it is amazing.
Putain, c'est trop beau.
I love it so much. Something that I mentioned last week during the Echovold live stream was Echovold and Xingje have two completely different biomes, right? And then as we go through here, Jade Sea as a third different biome. These maps look completely different. There's a lot of different aspects to them, and not just in content, but also in art direction. Obviously we're starting to see some of the Jade Sea part of the Jade Sea now. Imagine that, right? But yeah, we're gonna head down to this little village here.
I love that you can see the waves and everything.
Yeah, I have some things I want to talk about with this sea here in a bit, but this area here is called Emerald Bluff, excuse me. And what it is, as you can see over here, there's a little bit of a dock. This area might be pretty old. They built this maybe when the Jade Sea was in solid jade. So this is a little bit of an older area. It has some older folks in it who may not be interested in moving to the hustle and bustle of Kaineng or, Xingjie or even Echovold, they're also different than Jade Sea, and so you'll find some cool stories here of the people who stuck around here and why they're still here, in context of what's happening at this point in the story. But at the same time, there is some interest from folks who are arriving here and trying to figure out, what's going on, what's with this Jade that now powers the entire Canthan Empire.
Donc tout ça c'est du lore évidemment.
In so doing, there's an event here that I really like that one of our content designers, Annie, did. That is about similar to in real life how there's ice core studies that happen in Antarctica, for example. You're able to assist some researchers with gathering jade cores and able to figure out what's inside the jade, what can they get from it, what are they learning from it, And then there's also some other stuff that you kind of run across too.
Let's quickly take a look at the table that this researcher
nice
has.
table.
Yeah. Well, specifically, I want to talk about what's on the table. So I've had a couple people.
C'est trop bon, on est d'accord.
In the chat,
C'est incroyable.
Can't help myself.
C'est un
for
truc
all
de
these
ouf.
different things. I just noticed when we run by these, a couple people have been like, "What's that thing? What are these? They keep showing up." I'm going to talk about it.
Yay.
So these are actually throughout Cantha in End of Dragons. We have news that will play like from these projectors when you get near them. And the thing about this is that news actually updates based on how far you are in the story, what's happened in the world, and all these things like that. So there's a sense of like, one of the things that I'm really proud of with End of Dragons is over the years we've experimented with a lot of different ways to merge our instance content and the open world to make it feel like they're connected. And by having like these reporters talking about things that are happening in the story as you're exploring, I think that's turned out to be a really effective way for us to do it. We're proud for how it shows up. But it does mean that we've now got these things that are pretty visible in every map, and we turn them off in the live stream because we can't have them talking about something that happens in Act 5
Right.
when we're showing off, like,
Ok.
here's the first map you go to. So,
Les trucs holographiques là, c'est des trucs qui vont donner des news sur les
actually,
différentes maps et
something
tout.
that I like
Mais du coup, ils les ont
about these
enlevés là
that
pour pas
you'll
qu'on ait
see
des
as you're
spoils. Quoi.
running around the game after it's live is the different sizes. And I've
Yes.
joked that it's like desktop, laptop, tablet, and phone because there's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
4 different sizes of these.
So this one on the table is one of the smaller sizes. You get the fun-sized reporter that shows up and talks to you, just
Okay, I
standing
love
on
that.
your table. Yeah. Then there's obviously like person-sized, and there's a big one for like neighborhoods. But then there's one place in the expansion. There's a giant one of these, which is always really fun when you trigger it and you see her like the thing like talking to you, and you're like, oh. There's the
That's
news.
C'est magnifique, hein.
That's the thing.
C'est trop beau.
But yeah.
C'est trop
It's one
trop
of my
beau.
favorite additions to the open world just because it really helps kind of ground everything in the reality of what's happening, right? Like not the things that you're doing impact the world and people are reacting to it. You might do something in the story,
Yeah.
and then you hear news about it. You're like,
T'imagines là en scaraboule sur la mer de Jade.
It's a great
Il y a moyen de faire des dingueries avec les virages et tout, dans les vagues.
We have a bunch of ambient reports that we wrote that are just about like random things and like
Yeah.
don't feed. There's one that's like don't feed the kappa, like please, they're dangerous. And we know it's like all right, like and that's just kind of a fun
Yeah.
thing to have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so what else do you want to look at the Jade Sea now? And
yeah, let's look at the Jade
We don't
Sea.
wanna
This
look at the Jade Sea.
we're actually gonna skip
Leave.
the Jade Sea. No,
Don't leave
but
yet.
I'm gonna start heading.
Oh là
over
là
our
là là, c'est
goal
trop
is to get
stylé.
up on top of that ridge there. It's another one of our beautiful temples. But on the way,
Stylé.
I just wanted to call out the amazing work again that our map artist Jeff has done on this region. These are all hand sculpted waves and a beautiful artwork
Whoa.
done. You can see the sea foam, kind of blending in at the top, and you can get a real sense of motion that happens inside of this map.
Ouais, il y a des petits reflets et tout là.
But
C'est ça
something
qu'il est en
that's
train de
really
dire.
special about this map that I'm particularly fond of.
Ouais, avec la
is,
torche de siège, ouais,
you
j'avoue.
might see that it looks like it goes very far. So something that is kind of different and new to the
la,
game
la,
for
la, la.
Land of Dragons is the concept of an open bordered map that is land-based, at least technically land-based. So we do open border maps all pretty regularly-ish. Some of them in Ara are that way, in Or. Grothmar Valley has a little bit of it near one of its edges, but it's
Grothmar
always
Valley.
done with water. It's always a water plane that just goes off into the distance. And we've never done that before for a land-based map. Technically speaking, I suppose this is water, but you know.
It's debatable. For all
Debatable.
intents and
Ok, d'accord.
purposes.
En fait,
But
c'est
when we
un
were
no
building
man's
out
land
this
entre
map,
deux endroits.
it was important
Comme si c'était de
that
l'eau,
we
en fait.
You know, the Jade Sea is very large, and we wanted to accurately convey that in what you see and what you experience in the map, and have it feel like a Jade Sea, not a Jade bathtub, if you will, and have it kind of you're encapsulated in a small space, and you can't see
Okay.
how big this thing really is, you know. And so we were talking with Jeff about that. And how can we make this work? How can we have a land-based one where it goes off into infinity, really? And he's like, I have an idea. Let me see if I can do it. And shortly after, he checks it in and is like, let me know what you think. And we took a look. We're like, holy crap. Like, this looks amazing. And what he did is, beyond the borders of what is actually recognized as the map on the technical side, he hand-sculpted more of these waves as props and have them placed, to help convey off in the distance how big this map and how big the Jade Sea really is. And that includes, you'll see the rocks and all that stuff in the distance.
C'est trop beau,
And that was
on
really
voit au
important
fond
to
comme
us
ça là, c'est
because,
incroyable.
if you played Guild Wars 1 Jade Sea, it has that feeling to it. It was a little easier in Guild Wars 1 because you couldn't jump. There wasn't as much, vertical
Right.
elements
Yeah.
to movement in the game. But, so that produced its own kind of challenges for Guild Wars 2. But in doing so, Jeff did an awesome job of, really conveying it in an awesome way. It
trop
looks
beau,
like it goes on forever.
c'est
It's a
trop
huge
beau.
ocean, not ocean, sea.
Putain, je suis trop content.
Big
Ça
body
va
of
être une dinguerie.
Is it water?
Jade Lake.
Yeah. So,
Jade Pond.
there's tons of words we can use. The pond, the soak, whatever.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
Okay, so tiny nitpicky question. When you have the water-based maps that do this, you get like the strong current when you get to the end. And I know you can't show us, but how does that work on land? I'm
Yeah.
calling it land.
Oui, quand t'arrives
All
au
land, that's
bout
fine.
d'une map qui est pleine d'eau,
there is
il y a un
still
courant qui
similar
te renvoie dans
element
l'autre sens, en
to
fait.
it. There's more important things for you to kind
Et
of
sur du
focus
dur,
on, and so there, you'll still get a familiar message. It might be a different
On va
message
voir,
this
justement.
time because there's not a strong water current to
oui, il n'y a pas de courant dur
Yes.
qui t'empêche d'avancer, quoi.
Yeah, that
Spoilers,
was
Ruby.
Right?
when we first were like, okay, we committed to doing this open border. I talked to Eric and I was like, hey, can we change that text? And he's like, I'll look into it. And again, same thing. Really quickly we're able to. Everyone really hopped onto this idea, and it was just awesome to see everyone come together. And it looks so cool.
Let's climb.
Let's climb,
Yeah.
shall we?
Climb.
Cool. Yeah. I love all the little details and like the texture work and stuff. You can you can really see the motion, and it has some reflectivity to it.
Ouais, c'est vrai que ça reflète,
Technical
c'est
terms,
trop beau.
this is probably
It's a
the
Bon,
word.
évidemment,
It's
avec
fine.
les graphismes en moins.
I was thinking about this, Kirk. They do probably have jade bathtubs in Canada.
Probably, but this would be a really big bathtub.
That's true.
What would you? I don't know. So we're gonna climb up here.
Wow, les cerisiers, ils sont trop beaux.
Live now. Somebody get on that.
Wow,
Someone
les
couldn't
cerisiers,
have
ils sont
the
trop beaux. Incroyable.
Happening
Here's
this
another
second.
view. I love this view of the Jade Sea as it just goes off into the distance.
Oh là 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 là, c'est trop
This
beau.
area actually was in the Siege Turtle video that came out yesterday,
Which you should check out if you haven't.
which you should check out. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Which Siege Turtles play very nicely on this map. But this area I really like because there's some fun content here centered around what goes on in this temple. But at the same time, this might be a place where you learn about a specific mini dungeon that might be in the Jade Sea. Mini
C'est trop
dungeon.
beau.
you might say.
Yeah, I mean, as someone.
En fait, je sais pas quoi dire, c'est juste trop beau, genre.
Right. The
À part-
one in Path of Fire.
part ça, on a
the
rien
Dwarven
de-
Ruins was one of my favorite places to stumble upon. So I was really excited to hear that you guys are doing more of that stuff this time around.
Yeah, we love that kind of stuff too when we're building out these maps. Explorability is I'm sure that's a word I'm making it a word too.
Explorable.
Also a word.
Explorable. Connor is my technical dictionary here. You are the nerd, story guy.
I mean, I'm not the.
Anyway.
I write some words, but not as many. as the
Anyway,
rest.
So it's a word.
That's a big. It's really important to us when we're building out these maps. It's not just the content that's in your face, so to speak, with fighting and what have you, but we want to have stuff for you to explore as you're building. Building your journey through these maps. And in doing so, we approached the design of mini dungeons for these. And this is one of a couple you might find in End of Dragons that might have something to do with this space. What more? I'm not going to say, but as you journey through the Jade Sea and explore it on your own, you'll find it. It's an awesome, thing to explore that one of our designers, Floyd, did, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Connor ran through it and he enjoyed
Putain,
it
c'est
too.
ouf.
He likes
Les
this area in
cerisiers sont trop
particular, which
beaux.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. Before I go to there, I'm going to show a clip of one of my favorite little vistas here.
All right, all right.
And by clip, I mean I'm going to time it with that conveniently placed rock on the side there. And yeah, just I love the view. You know, this map has
It is gorgeous.
being as open as it is. You know, it allows us to have a lot of
Tellement beau.
big open vistas. You know, that just.
Je pense qu'on peut monter en haut de ce caillou là, je sais pas.
And not really anything like we've done before.
En dracaille
and-
peut-être.
And one
Je
of
sais pas
the
si on peut
things
monter.
we were figuring out, like side stories and core stories and things like that. One of the big things we do is hey, where's a good spot for some of these scenes that we need to play that have a specific tone or one we want to have a certain feel. And there's a particular one, which I'm looking forward to people experiencing, that we decided to set here, looking out at this expanse, because it made sense and it fit very well tonally. That's all I'm gonna give you. But in general, I'm really proud of some of the variety of different things and places we take our characters and our world in this expansion.
Yeah.
C'est chiant, ils peuvent rien dire en
Connor
fait.
Showed me what he had
C'est trop
built
chiant.
here. You know, I was really blown away. It's a really awesome moment, you know, just in itself, but just it's a perfect place to have that moment. You know, it's an awesome beat in the story.
Non, c'est un skin
in the
qui est
story.
déjà sorti ça. Hein. C'est un skin qui est déjà sorti ça.
But you know, I just
Il y a longtemps, d'ailleurs.
the attention to
Je crois.
detail and the focus and handcrafted stuff that everyone has done. It's awesome to see every time we log into the map.
And you'll just have to imagine it because we're not showing
That's right.
any of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but you know,
what
it's
we're doing is telling you places to
Yes.
look for
Yes.
cool things.
Yes.
And I like how you said there
Ils vont
might
juste
be
nous
a
montrer
mini
ça.
dungeon, like it's in question. There's definitely a mini dungeon.
Spoilers.
We're telling you where to go look.
Yeah,
It's the only spoiler I can give, man. Give me
fair.
something.
Okay, you can have that one. I really like that too, just because, you know, in context of like the meta event that is in this map, you know, there might be a meta event in this map.
There's a meta event in this
There is
map. You just
definitely a
said.
meta.
Ah, il y a un meta event,
You know,
let's
in
go.
context of the meta
C'est
event,
trop dur de rien
there's
dire en
also
fait.
time for more of those quieter character beats and
Yeah.
quieter, you know, more solo stuff that you can do,
Yes.
like a mini dungeon or what have you. Some of the stuff that we'll take a look at in a bit here.
Striking that balance is something that we've been iterating on for every expansion, right? And I think, and one of the things is the maps have different maps hit that balance a little bit differently
Yep.
in this expansion. That was one of the things I think that I love that gives the maps a different feel in this time around. And I think you guys did a great. I think we did a good job of it here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Yeah, I hope everyone likes it when they're able to check it out.
Oh, elle est belle la map.
This is
Hein.
the point where I vanish.
Elle est incroyable. Hein.
Well,
Oh là là.
yes, I'm interested to see if you actually vanished. I do want to say thank you for giving yourself credit too, as well, for catching that.
Yeah.
You all have done such amazing work. I'm so excited for you all to
Yes.
see this.
So I'm going to be disappearing, and we're going to
Yes,
be bringing
yeah.
Chloe on.
We're gonna take a really quick break. Stick around, and we're gonna keep running around the Jade Sea. We'll be right back.
Aïe 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 aïe. Ils font une pause. Ils font une pause, ils changent de personne, ils boivent un coup. Et ils nous montrent plus. Aïe 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 aïe. C'est trop beau, putain. C'est trop beau en vrai. C'est ouf. Bon, attends, je coupe le câble. Je vais manger un bout là. Oh là 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 là. Ça a l'air tellement infini, tellement immense. C'est ce qu'ils ont pas arrêté de dire, hein, qu'ils voulaient que ça ait l'air infini et tout. Bah c'est réussi en soi. Hein. Voilà. Mais ouais, nous on veut voir Cabalon, les carrières de Jade et tout. Oh là là, qu'est-ce que c'est beau ça. Oh, cette image elle est trop belle. Magnifique, ouais, je suis d'accord avec toi. Oh là là, mais ça c'est Kaineng. Non? On dirait quand même Kaineng là. Oh là 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 là. On a tellement à voir les gars. Tellement hâte que ça sorte. Tellement hâte que ça sorte. Je vais la poncer l'extension je pense. Ah, les images sont incroyables. Les images elles sont folles. L'image d'après là. Waouh, celle-là elle est incroyable. Avec les... On dirait qu'il y a un seul dragon là. Tac, 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 tac. Oh, si t'en es sûr, non mais c'est sûr, je vais poncer. Et ça on dirait Kaineng. Oh là 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 là. Trop beau. On en veut plus. Ah, c'est bon déjà? Ah non. C'est ouf. Ils nous montreront QUIGGANG en janvier, je crois.
Welcome back. I hope
Allez,
you're
go.
ready to continue your tour of the Jade Sea with us because we have more to share. Chloe is with us now, so thank you for joining.
Hi, I'm Chloe Mills.
Thank you for joining.
I'm a content designer. I'm working on End of Dragons. I've been working on Echofall Wilds.
Elle est aux couleurs de la mère de Jade.
And in Jade Sea, one of the things I've been working on is part of the meta, including
Spoilers!
the very spoiler town conclusion to the meta.
It's so hard not to spoil
It really
stuff.
It's
C'est trop dur de rien spoil.
super secret, but I'm very excited for people to get like their hands on it when this goes live. I cannot wait.
Wow.
It's going to be so good. you
Yeah,
guys.
I'm super excited.
It's like what Connor was saying about the story and the meta, you know, coming together, the story teams and the content teams, you know.
Yeah. It's been really interesting because we are trying really hard to like integrate the narrative a lot with this one, and especially like towards the end, there's. I don't
trop
know.
mal les maisons, hein.
But it's all secret.
There's some stuff, but there is stuff that we can share and talk about. So
Yeah.
let's keep going.
What are we looking at?
Well, here is
Oh là 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 là
a
là.
siege turtle hatchery. This is
Avec tous les
Juno
escaliers, tout,
hatchery.
c'est trop beau.
It is a different hatchery than the one that was in Guild Wars 1, Yala hatchery. But it's kind of got like similar vibes, even though it's evolved over time. There's updated architecture, and it has a little bit different of a look, obviously. But it still has a lot of Luxon influence. Like siege turtles are a very like integral part of like Luxon culture and history.
Wow, qu'est-ce que c'est beau.
And so you definitely still get a lot of those vibes, even though stuff has like updated and integrated with more of the Canthan like culture overall. So I have an event here that I made, and in it you are protecting some little tiny baby siege turtle hatchlings that have just hatched out of their nests in the sand, and you're helping them get to these little hatchling pools where they can start like growing up and
Ça, c'est trop
learning how to
stylé.
be a siege
Avec
turtle.
les tuyaux et tout là sur les
there's a
côtés,
lot.
c'est trop stylé.
So yeah, because like I wanted to make this event a little bit like have a little bit more of a layer than just like a regular defend or escort event. So there's like they're like little babies. They're naive. They don't know any better, and so like they're just
Ouais, c'est
beelining
clair.
for those.
Ça a pris un temps
pools.
fou, je pense,
And, you know, in the way, there's a bunch of danger and things that they can run into, including Naga and Kappa and other.
Les nagas et les kappas. Les kappas, c'est les
So,
tortues,
so
et les
you,
nagas, c'est les
as a
serpents, je crois.
player, are trying to herd them and lure them away from out of the like path of danger and help them not get kidnapped by the Naga. So it's very cute. It's a little chaotic, but you kind of get a glimpse into like what it's like to work at the hatchery here, and it's a bunch of very
Beau.
cute baby turtles.
Yeah, I
trop
really
beau,
like
là.
it too. You know, obviously there's usually some siege turtles spawned in here amongst other things.
Yeah.
You know, but
We hid those two.
we hit
Yeah.
everything. But you know, like you'll see them all around. You're able to learn about them. You're able to experience some of what that Luxon knowledge is. You know, given their mastery with the siege turtle just as a thing.
Yeah, and this is an important place for starting on the journey for getting your own siege turtle.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. But yeah, so like this big pool here, it's like shallow water because it's like the side pools are for like the little tiny hatchlings, and in the middle is for like the more like adolescent, a little bit bigger turtles.
Bon, c'est l'endroit où on
have
va.
some training and.
Ça va parler des tortues, quoi.
So, it would normally be more populated.
I like the progression of the smaller
Salut,
pools and then the
Rontius.
large one.
Yeah.
And I played this event once or twice, and I know Chloe's going to get like sick of me screaming at her about how much I love it. But it's
C'est
not
là
just,
sûrement
like,
qu'on va avoir nos tortues,
adorable
quoi.
turtles, and you have to help like the naive little babies that will just blunder into danger otherwise. But the different ways just that little bit of progression goes, and like we were joking that they're food motivated because
Yeah.
you can offer treats to lure them. Come over
Yeah,
here.
you're like, come here,
Big
come here.
mood.
Like,
You can, yeah, we can.
Elles
we
expliquent
can
le
give
petit
them their
event qu'il
lunch,
va y avoir.
Herc.
Excellent.
But yeah, it is just the care and thought that went into it it's such a good example of so many of the events on this map. This is one of the few we can talk about. So
One of the few.
yeah, it is. I'm excited for people to experience this one, and the fact that it's tied into getting your own siege turtle mount is
Oh là 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 là.
makes it really
Trop
awesome.
stylé.
Real quickly, you might have noticed that sometimes I will focus on the nice ground, like, look at that rock, that's a nice rock.
That is a
Very nice
fantastic
rock.
rock.
But, just again, as we've said, we are unspawning, we unspawn the entire map. That includes creatures, some props. I can't turn my camera to face specific angles because
Ça
sometimes
donne quoi
it
ce
can get too
reveal? C'est
spoilery.
trop beau en fait,
So
tout est trop beau.
we don't. There's like a
Et
ton of
grand,
exciting
et
stuff on this
spacieux,
map
et tu
that
vas voir.
we really just don't want.
T'as raté le
spoil
début
for
déjà,
folks.
mais
We'd
je
rather
mettrai la
have,
rediff sur YouTube.
Be able to discover it on your own.
yeah.
I meant to say earlier, I appreciate your use of the terrain to hide things
Yeah,
that
I
need to
mean-
be hidden. Like, you're nailing this. I'm impressed.
That's a Jeff
Sous
special.
ma caméra, il y a
and
marqué qu'en
trains are
fait, il y a
interesting to
beaucoup de
look at.
choses cachées
That we're able to
pour ne
just
pas
kind of
spoil en
just
fait.
chill and relax
what it
and,
is.
Yeah, take a
Pour
look
ne rien
at
spoil,
what
en
it has
fait.
to offer, and see some
Ah,
props
les
that
carrières
might
de
be floating a
Jade,
little
les carrières de
bit because
Jade.
of, Dev environment.
Les carrières de
Remember I
Jade.
said stuff might be broken. I don't think that column gravity. Maybe gravity is
Listen.
different than I understand it in
Le truc là, il
Kidnap.
vole là.
Yeah, that might be it.
Vole là,
Or-
le truc là.
Just
I
make
don't know.
click the
Blame the
column
siege
wrong.
turtles. The siege turtles did it.
Yeah, I was so glad that like we were going to have a
OMG,
season
des
after
tyroliennes?
it was something
Non.
that, like when we first started talking
Et
about
en fait,
it, I was
non,
like,
MDR.
oh,
Ouah,
I
c'est
need
trop
to be a part
beau.
of this. I really want to be involved with Siege Turtles. I love them in Guild Wars 1. I love the Luxons, and it's just I could not wait, and I was like, I need to be a part of this so badly.
Yeah, the work that you've done on that area is amazing. It's
so
really
good.
awesome to check out.
So where are we now?
We're going to head north a little bit into the actual quarry part of the Jade Sea, where you'll see there's a lot to look at in here, so we'll get to it. But something that I really like about this area is it immediately shows you how much of the mining operation has already gone down, Technically speaking, up there is sea level, right? So they've been digging for quite a long time because they need a lot of this stuff to power their empire, And in some cases, they've dug all the way down to the sea floor. Obviously,
Oui, Bronchus.
this is relatively shallow compared to some parts of the Jade Sea, given how
Matin.
close it is to the mainland. But you're able to stand in there and immediately look up and be like, okay, that's pretty deep. And see some of those stories. They're still actively trying to do stuff in here. They need that jade to fuel with
Oh là là
all of
là.
their stuff that shall not be spoiled throughout the the expansion and throughout Cantha.
Certains ont râlé.
But yeah, in doing so,
Non,
you're
parce
able to see
qu'elle
those
est-
stories
elle est
of
imbibée
the
de magie.
workers here,
Donc elle est encore plus
what they're
claire,
dealing
tu vois.
with, while also starting to
Bon, elle est,
reach a
elle est
more
pas
familiar
verte
area,
foncée,
for
foncée
Guild Wars
comme.
1 players,
Elle est
this
plus
is
couleur émeraude, tu vois.
the Jade Quarry from
Mais
Guild
bon.
Wars 1, that PvPvE mission where it was Luxons versus Kurziks, this is that area that has been expanded very, drastically as they just
Putain.
continued that operation.
Dis pas les
over
choses,
centuries,
dis pas les
as it
choses.
were.
La
That's
Jade Quarry.
brought the attention of many other groups, including, this logo here is an interesting one. Last week,
Hey.
we took a look at the headquarters in Echovold of the Jade Brotherhood gang. It turns out that the speakers are in Jade Sea, interested in what's going on here.
Aïe, aïe,
This,
aïe.
again, it's empty, so
I
Et
do
donc
appreciate
là-
their commitment to gardening, though. Like,
Ça,
they
c'est
love
le
it.
logo
this is such a pretty
descendant
area,
luxe,
and
en
I
fait.
joke, but the trees
Oh là là,
and the
qu'est-ce que c'est
flowers
beau,
and
qu'est-ce que c'est beau.
just all of the little details.
I know,
Yeah.
I love this
Good.
little meadow right here. It's,
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
so picturesque.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, that's the thing that I really like about the Jade Sea too. I mean, all of our maps have elements of this, but this area is way different than what we started with in the show, right? And it's way
Yeah.
different from what the rest of the sea looks like, and it's way different from what the quarry looks like. There's still elements of everything for everybody here in terms of variety of, terrain and elevation. So let's head up there actually.
Wow,
Yeah, it's
c'est trop stylé.
it's been it's really interesting to have worked on both Echovold and Jade Sea for that reason. Like, it has provided
C'est
a lot
sublime.
of
C'est
variety,
incroyable.
just because they have just very different
C'est ouf.
vibes and layouts. Like Echovold
C'est
is
ouf.
very vertical.
Et t'as pas vu le
and
début,
kind of,
c'était trop beau.
more like closed in and spooky. Whereas, like, I mean, I know that we're
Contre la qualité du stream, elle s'est drastique.
right now, but like as a whole, Jade Sea is like
still.
much more open and there's like wide expanses, and so it really like I really like the variety there, but it's also like created some interesting design challenges to solve of like how do we lay out the content,
Oh là là,
like all the events and
les
stuff.
falaises, elles sont
and
magnifiques, genre.
thinking about how stuff interacts with just the environment itself, like having where do the characters exist, where do enemies live, and all of that. And so it's been really cool to work on both of them because they just have such like different feels.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, les couleurs des fleurs et tout est trop
I
beau.
really
genre.
like it too because it allows
Ça ferait un
us
super
to,
fond d'écran de
have a
ouf.
lot of variety in the content that we're building for these maps in the sense that, you know, like there's pathways that, you know, you'll see people taking those pathways doing their own things. But then there's also NPCs that are a little bit more adventurous, you know, like, and this is an awesome cliff, this is one of my favorite cliffs. And you bet that there's some diving goggles here that you can use. But, you know, there might be an NPC up here, for example, who's, you know, they want a drink of some kind. And because they heard that there might be some ways to get a drink down here, because it turns out even miners, you know, sometimes like to take a drink after their shift. But he's too lazy to get down here, so you have to figure out how to get him their own drink.
Les reflets dans l'eau, c'est incroyable.
Anyway, yeah, you
Regarde
know,
les
just small
reflets
things
dans
like
l'eau.
that, details here and there that really help sell the world and build the environment and takes advantage of the
Pratique la map sans
verticality
moi, de
that,
ouf.
you know, this map can offer.
Hey, a skiff.
Yeah, hey, a skiff. Isn't it great? Yeah, but that was one of the interesting challenges with this map is, you know,
Oh là là, on
this
voit les
is a
fonds
map
marins et
that
tout.
technically is water
les fonds
that
de l'eau.
is solidified. So sea level means
Salut,
something
Hydro.
in this map, you know. But at the same time, we want this map to support multiple of our new features in this expansion. You know, skiffs, fishing, what have you. So how do we approach that from both an art perspective, but as a design one? Wow, that was the tongue full. But you know, how do you do that?
It was fine.
It was
It's
fine.
fine.
And that presented its own interesting design.
Attends, mais on voit le fond de l'eau, là.
challenges, and we'll go into a little bit
C'est
more
trop beau.
shortly, but
Et les reflets.
it allows
C'est un
us to
truc de
do
ouf.
some really fun things with it and take us through areas that, you know, they have their own history and their own ecosystem that we're able to build content off of.
Yeah, like around here, having the water kind of like lets us take a look at like some of the inhabitants of Jade Sea, Naga. And I built another event right around here that has to do with the Naga, and I had a lot of fun with this one because I was
DX11,
working with the
j'avoue.
narrative to figure out like what
Oh là là.
what the Naga look like at this point, like where have they been, what have they been doing, like because in Guild Wars 1 the Naga were like on the brink of extinction because of the Jade Wind basically annihilating most of them, and so they also, like in Guild Wars 1, they also harbored a lot of resentment towards humans because like they viewed them as the cause of it. And so it was interesting working with the narrative team to figure out like where do they stand now, what have they been up to, and so their numbers are better now, but they're still definitely not our friends, but like I think that like some of that like resentment has like a little bit faded over time, and it's more that they're established here and there's all these mining operations happening in the area, and so it's more just now like get out of our territory, like why are you here, like this is our turf. So I have an event here where I love that view, it's so cool. I just love how that tower really like illustrates how much has been mined out.
Yeah, like that was ground level at some point, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's so cool. But yeah, so I have this event here where there's like this normally would be populated with like a bunch of people mining and taking things into like storage facilities and moving stuff around, and so the Naga are invading because like they view this as their turf, and so they have their own motivations. They're definitely being jerks about it, but like there's a little bit more context here of like some of the friction that's happening in this region, and so you have to drive them off, and similar to the siege.
Voilà, elle parle du lore, elle parle des Nagas, quoi.
Kind of add another layer.
C'est-à-dire les serpents.
To like how you
La
go
race des
about it
serpents.
and give players options for how you approach the event. So you can choose to drive them off in a few different ways, whether that's with bloodshed or maybe some more peaceful options. So yeah, it's a fun event too.
Yeah, I really like that event, and because it allows us to learn more about the other elements of the area in terms of life, right? It's not just the humans who are doing quarrying here or the gangs.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of creatures that live here. There's a lot of history, and so being able to see like those interactions and see creatures that are.
Oh là là, la Jade là, la Jade cassée là. Oh. Ah, c'est trop stylé.
Good segue, right?
Yeah, that was nice. I know what's here. So I like all of this like rubble rock and the not quite so nicely dug out jade and looks kind of ominous. Sometimes when you dig too deep, you
Change
might
quelque
run into
chose
some
sur cette
things
mage.
that you might not have
De quoi?
expected. And so
Non mais là c'est un
here
preview
we are having an
de
event
l'extension.
with the Jade Maw, which you might have seen in the video about Jade Sea, but
Ouais, l'event, ouais.
From the Solid Ocean fractal.
Ça va être ouf. Ça va être
so
ouf.
I don't know if it's the same.
Ça va être ouf. Il va y avoir l'abysse, je sais pas quoi là. Celle qu'on se tape dans l'océan solide.
But yeah, so it is.
Ça va être ouf.
An interesting thing to think about, like as these people are excavating the jade, like what is in it, like what lies below the surface, and so yeah, so we have stuff with the Jade Maw here, and.
Yeah, it's really awesome, being able to take that encounter that was obviously a fractal one, so it was designed for 5 players.
Yeah.
And trying to imagine how does this work? How do these mechanics, are we changing things? Are we not?
Right.
To make it work as an open world.
Ok, ils l'ont changé.
Yeah, the context really changes there, and so.
Oh là là, ils l'ont changé. Ça va être le même mob.
It's so cool.
Un autre fight.
Yeah, it's cool to see it in like a different,
Oh là là.
in an actual setting rather than just like in the mists in fractals.
For sure.
So,
it helps ground it all, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And it's also it's one of many cool side things that you can find in the map to, fight.
yeah.
We're gonna head a little bit to the west here. We'll
Oh là là, le
explain and
truc,
talk
là.
about that. What is that?
Yeah.
Who knows? But talking more about some of the history in the map and working with Jeff, our map artist, on how do we work in boatable and swimmable and fishable water. Something that we, Chloe was saying with the Jade Maw is what happens if they dig too deep. What will they find?
Mais là c'est pas pour maintenant, c'est pour l'extension ça.
In this case, it turns out maybe they didn't, because
Ça va être profond en fait l'eau là.
There might be some flooded quarry bits and pieces. Who knows how deep that goes? What might be under there? But it's a really cool element to the map. Just shows again some history. Maybe this is one of the first spots.
Oh les reflets sur l'eau, ils sont incroyables. L'eau elle bouge comme ça là, ouah, c'est incroyable.
But at the same
trop
time,
stylé.
it's like it gives some context to some of the
Regarde
water
comment
in
l'eau
the
est trop
map, but
belle.
maybe not all of the context. Because one of those questions with Jade Sea and Echovault, when we first started designing these maps for Guild Wars 2, is what do these maps look like in context of the fallout from the Jade Wind,
Right.
And now that has been kind of not as serious, it's not as impactful.
Settling
yeah. Why don't,
It's not as recent.
Well, yeah. Guild Wars 1 spoiler, you took out Shiro. That's the spoiler. I mean, we're just gonna go with it. Took down Shiro, that's not as much of a thing. So, what happened? Does the Jade turn back to water? That would be really awkward if you had all these Jade Tech things in Cantha and they just turned into water, especially if you had a Jade Tech bathtub. Because you already have water, and then I don't know.
We're gonna need to make a jade bathtub just for Kirk.
And we have the oven from Echovault.
For your lunch.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cover all those bases.
Okay,
All
so I
covered.
love
Sponsor
this, I
Vitel,
love this
non.
little grotto that we're
Voilà,
going to.
c'est.
This is one of my
So
favorite
pretty.
places.
It's beautiful in here.
c'est trop
Yeah,
beau.
like
C'est une grotte.
this is an area where when we were talking about it, it's like what can we do with the concept of the Jade Wind and how it impacted the Jade? What happened to the Jade? Is it melting? Is the Jade Sea melting? Those are questions that you might find answers to, or some information, and through exploring some of the regions of the map, right? I really like this area in particular. This is another Jeff special in the sense that we're like, we really want to have a lot of boating and fishing support in this map, especially given it's called Jade Sea, which implies water.
Les reflets de lumière de l'eau, ouais, c'est
But we
incroyable.
have the flooded quarry area and around where the Nagas are, right?
Ah oui, les reflets de lumière de l'eau sur les murs.
I have
Putain,
an idea.
j'avais même pas fait gaffe. C'est
I'll get back
incroyable.
to you. And in typical Jeff fashion, he checks it in. He's like, "All right, what do you think?" And we look at it and we're like, "Oh my gosh, It
This is amazing.
amazing. Yeah, like, you know, this thing is, I'm not going to go in any deeper because it is an awesome thing
Spoilers.
to explore on your own. But, you know, it's beautiful in here. It's really unique because the artwork that's being done here, you know.
It's so pretty. I love all of the light refractions on the or I guess it's the water.
Ah, tu vois, elle vient de le
It's,
dire.
like, on the jade and all of like the little like motes
Elle vient de le dire.
around, and like the lighting is a lot
Les
different.
reflets de
than,
l'eau sur la jade,
Casey,
ouais.
And like in here it's got much more of like a misty, spooky like teal
Yeah.
Putain, c'est
color
ouf.
going on. It's just like it's very atmospheric. I love it.
I love it so much. The lighting tricks that Jeff did to, you know, it looks like the sun is literally, you know, refracting through the jade above us. You know, it looks so unique and not really like anything else in the game. Those
Oh, les
kinds
rayons
of
du soleil
environments
qu'on voyait au milieu là, c'est un
environments
truc de
are
ouf.
discoverable all over, and it's just awesome. I love it so much.
Oui, elle est dans le
I
thème,
love-
je l'ai
I
dit
love
tout à l'heure.
how there's
Avec
just,
ses
like, a lot
yeux.
of, like on first glance, it doesn't. There's just it seems like, oh, it's just like up here on the surface, but there's a lot of little like hidden off to the side things to discover, and like
Yeah.
that sort of little grotto. There's a lot to explore in this map, and I'm really excited for people to see it.
It's a great balance too, because, you know, like we were saying, when you're not doing the meta in this map, you want to do more exploring, right? And
Exactly.
there's content in this map for you to do that. You know, we wanted to make sure that we're hitting as much as we can in terms of variety, because sometimes people feel more like exploring. They want to go on a fishing trip with their friends, or you know, what have you. And we want to make sure that all of our environments, given how unique all of these biomes are able to support that. Speaking of
C'est
support, there's some beefy metal legs
This
here.
is terrifying to me.
Yeah. So, without going into too much spoilers here, the Canthan Empire means business when it comes to
Right.
mining and quarrying out this jade. It is very essential to their entire, you know, ecosystem, their economy, their technology, you know, and in doing
J'adore, je suis
so,
mort.
they will do what they need to do in order to, you know, to get that jade. And in doing so, they will build these massive, you know, mining operation machines, if you will, crawlers, I think is what we're calling them, to help them do that. You know, this is an awesome set piece for the map. It's super unique. It may or may not have a little bit of a lux and flair to some of the design. You know,
It does.
it does. I think you're probably sensing a pattern here when I'm
I
saying.
am.
maybe
Anytime
not.
anytime Kirk says something might be the case, it's 100% the case.
100% the case. But yeah, you know, you can climb it and get some to a cool place from it. Again, spoilers, not going to say more. But you know, it's just, I really like, when that first came in, everyone was like, what the heck is that thing? But it just does such a great job, again, of showing the scale of the map and the verticality of
Oh
the
là
map,
là
you
là
know,
là.
and that
Les-
rock
les-
that
oh
Claire
là
was
là,
talking
mais
about
c'est
before,
tellement-
there
mais
it is
c'est-
again, you know, off in the distance. It really shows how deep they've been digging, you know, because this was all underwater way back when, or under Jade. Underwater than under Jade.
Mais moi aussi,
But,
je suis
you
trop
know, they've
hype,
turned
mec.
this into one big giant quarry
C'est ouf.
in order to do what they need to do. We're going to continue a little bit further into this quarry, actually. You know, like we said before, this quarry is the same quarry from Guild Wars 1, you know, that PvE mission. Obviously, there's not Luxons and Kurziks fighting over it at this point. It is very unified in their goal. Even if it does have some interesting folks, you know, we saw the speakers off in one side of the map.
C'est
and we
trop
might
dommage quand
run
même, hein,
into
qu'on
some
ait
other
plus
gang
la-
members here. You know,
la
given
carrière
how
de Jade.
important Jade is, everyone
là là.
wants to be aware of it and, you know, take part in what's going on. But at the same time, you're also able to see, you know, some of the jade that they might have fished up that is like, huh, this shark had a really bad day.
This shark, this was not a good afternoon, and the fish in there
Oh,
too.
jeez.
Like we're all, oh gosh, this was hard for the shark, but also I guess we kind of saved the fish here.
That's true.
Somehow, because the shark was getting eaten.
Ça va être
We
pratique tout faire pour
violated
les
the Prime
youtubeurs.
Direct- Well, Shiro
I'm looking for an
violated the
upside
Prime
here.
Directive.
Is
Yeah,
But
when
the
this all turns
creatures
into
Si, peut-être, ouais.
Yep. Yeah, it's awesome.
These are so cool. I love,
Ça, c'est ouf, on voit dans les trucs, bah,
really
c'est incroyable.
brings a lot
Les
of
détails,
light
c'est
into
ouf.
Jade when you can see, like,
En fait, avec le Covid et
the
tout, ils ont eu
history
une
there.
année
Like,
de
it
plus.
wasn't, like a-
Et peut-être
like a
qu'ils ont-
water sea at one point in time.
Il y a peut-être des équipes qui avaient
Having that,
fini
like,
leur boulot, qui ont rajouté des détails, tu vois.
creatures embedded inside,
Ou pas, hein,
like,
j'en
it's
sais rien,
just, like,
mais
frozen in time.
c'est une
It's
hypothèse comme
really-
ça.
it's just
Juste
so
qu'ils ont eu
cool.
plus de temps, vu que ça devait sortir l'année dernière déjà, et que ça a été
It's also an
repoussé 2 fois.
illustration- It's a good illustration of how suddenly this happened.
Yeah,
For sure. Yeah, so, you know, again,
C'est ouf.
this is very similar to the Guild Wars 1 area. Most of Jade Sea in Guild Wars 2 actually doesn't really take place in an area that was explorable in Guild Wars 1, but it does touch 2 spots that are playable in Guild Wars 1. The first one being this Jade Quarry. The other one is a harvesty thing that might be a bit south from here, you know?
Would it be some sort of temple, maybe?
Potentially?
Maybe?
It might be.
Hey,
Not
remember? Hey, do you guys remember that thing I said a minute ago about when Kirk says it might be? He just confirmed a thing.
Well, you know.
I know, right?
There's a lot of important elements of the Jade Sea that we wanted to take into account when we were building.
C'est ouf, c'est tellement grand.
And again,
That's fair.
I
Et
love
tout est
the
caché, là, en
open
fait.
views
Tout
of this
est
map
caché,
so
genre.
much. The work that has been done to make it, you know, work as an open map that looks like it's been quarried, you know. You can get these grand vistas that are just beautiful to just kind of soak in, you know.
Yeah, that's honestly been a problem for me, like this whole show, because I'm supposed to be paying attention and I keep going, I'm just. It's so beautiful.
That's why I like where we have the screen. I can see, you know, it's like, oh yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's difficult for me though. There's like a massive screen behind the cameras showing what Kirk is doing. And yeah, I keep getting distracted, just looking, oh, it's
so
beautiful.
Yeah. You know, one of the cool things about this,
Les
this
cerisiers,
area
je suis choqué,
is,
c'est
you know,
trop beau.
when it's not unspawned of literally everything and everybody. You know, this is where you'll see a lot of the business
On
go
dirait
down.
Kaling.
People doing the job to get the thing, the Jade that powers everything in Cantha, you know. And that, you know, you'll see it influenced in everything. They have Jade tech built into their work here, their quarry here, and they have
Oh la la
living
la la
quarters
la
that
la
are
la.
quite large. They have these amazing waterfalls. Those are in fact windmills, not waterfalls. There's
C'est
a waterfall
magnifique,
in
les
that
bâtiments et
direction.
tout, tout est trop beau, genre.
You know, just I love the scale of this entire thing.
Yeah.
Tellement immense.
Are so cool.
Yeah, that was, I know we already called it out, but just those huge windmills, the height indicating how deep the mining has gone it's
Yeah.
just such a good touch and I love it.
I feel like there's not a lot of places in Guild Wars right now that have like this level of like scale like up. Like there's things that are like maps that have verticality, but just like the sheer size of a lot of these like map props, like all it's just
Right.
it's so cool. Like it just
Yeah.
has just this sense of
Ouais, les
grandness
détails qu'il y a, c'est un
about it.
délire, genre.
Yeah, it's great.
Le jeu est déjà
The
tellement
work
beau, mais
the
alors là,
art
sur les
team has done,
prochaines maps,
you
ça va être
know,
fou.
on this project and the work that Jeff has done on this map. Every time we log in here, and when we do play tests, like we did a meta play test the other day, it blows us away every time. We come out of it being like, we wish it was February so we could play it with folks.
Yeah.
Right?
But
Oh,
also
come
it's
on.
like, it's already November, and you know,
It is so close. It feels like, I was saying this to you yesterday, it feels like it's 5 minutes away and forever away. Like
it really
have,
does.
we have work to do, but we are eager for February to get here.
It's getting close.
I can't wait. There's
I'm
so
so
many cool
excited.
things.
There's a lot of stuff that I'm excited for, but I'm in particular excited for like people to experience this meta for the first time.
I know we called it out. I know we called it
can't
out
wait.
earlier, but I do want to touch on just one more time the little details, like oh, and now you flew away. The little details, like even the walls, the carvings and the mosaics, and just even like the vines climbing up the side of the walls. Every little detail in this map is
C'est
so
fou.
beautiful.
C'est tellement,
really
ouais,
pretty.
tellement beau,
It really
tellement de
is.
détails,
Every time,
tellement.
there's always so many new things. Like we load in here and we're like, that's new. That's amazing. You know, there's always even as developers, when we go into these regions, it's always there's things that we'll find and discover, and we're like, okay, I want to put something there. You know.
Yeah, like look at the pattern just on the side of that wall. It's so good.
Everything looks like it's built in. You know, like it looks like it has some history to it, but also it looks like it. You know, they took that history and expanded on it. You know, kind of a blend of the old and the new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Une dinguerie.
All right, well, thank you both. That was our tour of the Jade Sea today. I hope you all liked everything
Oh,
that
la
you saw.
dinguerie!
We're, like we've said, we're so excited for you to get in here in February and just get this look at it for yourself when everything's not hidden. It was- and we're not sitting here going, there sure is a thing here, and it's great, and we can't tell you about
So
it yet.
many things.
Tout était caché, là. Il y avait tout qui était
but
caché.
we are getting closer and closer. We are in the second half of November. End of Dragons launches in February of 2022. We are It is coming at us like a freight train, you guys.
Dans 2 mois et demi?
End of
3
Dragons
mois?
is available for pre-purchase now. You can go ahead and
Aïe,
get in
aïe,
on
aïe,
that,
aïe.
get some goodies for your account
Ouais.
that you can
Ah,
get
pour l'instant, la mère de Jade, elle expose bien la forêt, hein.
Kirk was running
La
around
forêt des
on.
Cotswolds, hein.
Speaking of pre-purchase, we also are working with DX Racer. You can pre-purchase your
Aïe, 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 aïe. Bon, en tout cas, pensez à follow la chaîne, pensez à vous abonner sur YouTube, à activer la cloche. Et puis voilà, hein. C'est ouf. J'ai trop hâte. J'ai trop hâte.